It is Talking Reds. It's Neil Atkinson with Fuad Hasan. I am back in the chair live because ultimately proper football is returning. They keep me in a cupboard in the gaps between proper football matches. I've lived on biscuits and water since the game against Ajax. And ultimately haven't seen sunlight, daylight or any such thing off the basis of the fact that Liverpool matches aren't happening. It's going to prolong my life in the whole, you know what I mean? It's stasis, to be quite honest with you. It doesn't come off my overall body clock. So with a bit of luck, therefore, I can still be doing this sort of thing in 2163 as long as we keep blocking out international gaps and gaps due to national bereavement. It doesn't half help matters. It's Fuad Hasan. You won't believe what I'm doing on Thursday night.
Go on.
It's mad this. I am contributing to a class being taught in the United States about the World Cup.
Wow.
I don't even know who's in the World Cup. I was contemplating this the other day. Someone said to me, when I was away on holiday, because I was actually on holiday, and someone sort of got chatting and they went, hey, who do you think's going to win the World Cup? And I said, I think Italy have got a chance. They haven't qualified, mate. I was like, oh, amazing. Christ, that's a thing, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know who's in the World Cup, but basically what they want me to do is to talk about sort of complex relationships to international football as part of this. So what I enjoyed in the build-up to this and why this is now in my head is you said, what have Scotland been promoted to? What is this and how does this work? And quite literally, working in football pays your mortgage if you had one.
I know, it's insane. I don't really get the whole Nations League set up from when it got brought in, and I feel like, you know, usually with these new things, you feel like you learn over time or things get explained to you sort of subconsciously, and that's one thing that just hasn't. I've not really had that little thing where, you know, I've seen an article or read up on anything where, you know, they've explained what this Nations League is. I'm still very much in the dark on it.
Yeah, I know it's England have been relegated from it and Scotland have been promoted from it, which means that maybe they'll always be like Norwich and Fulham and they'll never play each other. That'll just go on forever. But
yo-yo clubs.
Yeah, Jordan, who's producing, keeps saying that, says that he doesn't really have much of a clue what's going on, but Northern Ireland keep getting relegated, he said. So
can't be a good thing, can it?
It can't be a good thing at all. So no, it's this. So there's all the political stuff about why people who support Liverpool often don't support either any national team, and especially England. But I've got a theory, and I'm going to say this to ruin the World Cup class that I'm going to. I've got a theory that it's as much about literally energy as it is anything else.
Yeah.
That there's only so many games of football you can really give a shit about. And if you support a team that in any division finishes between 8th and 14th, basically, it's much easier to care a bit less because the games will ultimately, in the long run, matter less. But if you play 65 games like we did last year or however many it was, and you want to win every single one of them, then your energy is absolutely sapped. So we can talk about what we think about anthems or anything else around this, but I think there's a real sort of truth of the matter, which is, what, you want me to pay attention to this as well? I've only got so much bandwidth.
Exactly. I think that's one thing that's sort of gone a little bit under the radar. If we're bringing it to Liverpool specifically, you know, there's been chat about the players feeling that hangover maybe from last season in terms of fitness and energy and things like that, all sorts of different mental things. But I think us as fans have probably got a little bit of it as well, just because it's, like you said, every game feels so draining. It's almost like, especially with the way this team's been going against Man City in the last few years, every game is, without using the cliche, every game is a cup final. Yep. Every game does feel like that. And, you know, you do have the energy sapped out of you. Even this season, it sort of felt like that in bits. That Newcastle game, you know, you get these late winners and the way this team has been, it drains you. And I think it's a big thing with international football because you don't have, you know, maybe if you do support a lower league team where or
even just a side where genuinely every game has mattered.
Yeah.
From a Liverpool point of view, if you go to 2016, when Klopp first comes in, we get to the Europa League final. So the last game of the season matters. And then the following season, we need to win last 8 to qualify for the Champions League. Season after that, it's a Champions League final, the last game, and we've got to get top 4. Season after that, we get 97 points and win the Champions League. Season after that, COVID happens, so it's a little bit different. And that's the nearest
thing.
Still
need to win to get top 4, don't we?
We still need to win the league.
Yeah.
Sorry, and then there's the COVID season where we need to win 8 of the last 10 and draw the other 2 to do that. Then there's last season where every game mattered. And now there's this where it feels like every game will matter. And that's why, you know, when people talk about like, oh, they're on the beach. Fuck me, I'd love to be on the beach.
Yeah.
Can someone get me a beach? I want to be on a beach.
Yeah, the beach has been a distant thing for us, hasn't it, the last few years? The slippers haven't been on, have
The
they?
slippers have not been on. My slippers have got no wear and tear.
Thick boots have been on. Thick hiking boots have been on for 5 years.
Things that divers wear to ensure they sink to the bottom of the ocean. That's what's been on.
Yeah, flippers. Yeah, it has been wild, and I think the thing with international football is it. You know, you struggle to get into it, because a lot of teams don't. You know, there's that thing of people coming together. You barely have time to play with each other, and it isn't very good most of the time.
It's crap.
It just isn't very
bad
good.
Football.
Exactly, it is bad football. The quality of it is not up there, and yes, sometimes the tournaments you get it, but generally, you know, the drama from international football comes from brilliant individual moments. Or crazy things happening. There isn't that team that plays a certain way that, you know, you would tune in to watch because of the style. At least recently, maybe the Spain team a few years ago, but that hasn't really been the case for a while, I think. And you know, the fact that, you know, you thought Italy was a safe bet for the World Cup,
yeah.
And it seems to me wild that they're not in there and they won the Euros a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Belinda Johnson in the comments says the Reds should put the support behind the other Reds in the World Cup. Wales.
Yeah.
She's fucking lying. There's no way Wales are in the World Cup. Do you know what I mean? Like, fuck off, Belinda. You know, there's just no way Wales are in the World Cup. Come on, we all like a laugh. I just came up there. Just can't see it, to be honest with you, Belinda. I think you're trying to take advantage of the fact that I'm quite naive about these matters out the back of all of that. Charlie Evans says, given your pasty skin, I can believe that.
Wow.
Ruthless from Charlie. Absolutely ruthless from Charlie Roy's lad there. What else have we got there? Oh, Belinda's being nice about my jumper. I take it all back, Belinda. Very, very good of you indeed. So someone hopes that Klopp goes in on Southgate in the press conference. So I've always been quite sort of team Southgate on this up until yesterday. And the reason why is because I think that Trent Alexander-Arnold is such a unique footballer that the idea of trying to get him into your team when you get no time to work with the players, and fundamentally international football shit, is difficult. And I've always felt, I understand why you just go with, it's not like you haven't got good right-back options. They're boring. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're no way to live. They don't get you out of bed in the morning, but, you know, Kyle Walker, Reece James and the other lad, what's his name now? The lad who plays for Newcastle, that's the one. The other lad. They're all good players. So I've always felt a bit like, yeah, you know, because similar to what Trent does, it's about other people's brilliant movements. England haven't got Sadio Mane or Mo Salah. Harry Kane wants to come feet, wants to use his body. I thought there's a point around that. I've always thought, you know, Southgate, I can see where he's coming from. It's difficult to work it all out. And then yesterday, Southgate decides to be a gobshite, to be quite honest with you, because there is no way Trent Alexander-Arnold is fourth on any list of any category of right back. So if you want to say the best right backs in England, he's definitely not fourth in that list. The best right backs in Europe, he's not fourth on that list. The best right backs in the world, he's not fourth on that list. And the best right backs in the entire universe, including planets we haven't even found yet, he's not fourth on that list. So ultimately, Gareth Southgate can now go fuck himself.
Yeah, 100%. From his point of view, it's crazy that he's come out with that, and there's even been that explanation. I don't know if it goes back to when he got left out of the squad maybe a couple of years ago, was it? And there was a big thing, and you know, the Klopp did speak about it then, didn't he, and stuff like that. But this time, I don't understand why you would say that. You've made your decision. If you've got that agreement with the player, which maybe makes me think there might be a little bit of something going on there between them two. If you've got the understanding of the player, and obviously he's never going to be happy about it, but if that's there, why come out and give reasons like that? It seems all a bit crazy. I think you're completely right in the sense that it is the safe option to go with the other two. And the thing is, I guess if you are an England fan and you do care about the team, the frustrating thing, if I was one of them, would be that if you look at the players there, you could almost unleash that team. You could have a really, really exciting, expansive, you know, style. Obviously with international football, we don't see that much, but there are the players there. And you saw, I for some reason watched the second half of that England-Germany game. And you saw in the second half when they did have a bit more freedom, they looked like the team they should be, really, given the individuals that they have.
There we are. Fuad wants them to take the shackles off. I'm just now happy in my position of the England manager can go fuck himself. It was quite upsetting when I thought he was a sound fella. Now that he's managed to make a show of himself in public, I'm just much more comfortable, to be quite honest with you. We all know where we're up to. We all know what our position is. Here's a clip from Top 6, which isn't even out yet. Wild.
From an Arsenal perspective, it's hard to think of how this could have started better. I mean, admittedly, they did lose to Man United. They'd probably take that back. But I still think that they performed very well in that game. And I want to take an opportunity to say, okay, Mikel Arteta, fair enough. you've got this one right. But not only him, the board as well. Because let's face it, the Arsenal board have not had a lot of people saying that they've done well in recent times. So to stick with him and to buy into his vision through the tough times, they deserve some credit here today.
They absolutely do. I think the key thing that they've shown was a level of patience, not just with him and the results he was going to do, but how he was going to build the squad. Like, if you go back to January, there were a lot of people questioning the sort of the numbers they had, because they finished that season with a real skeleton squad.
Yes, they did.
When Aubameyang leaves, and there's a lot of pressure on Eddie Nketiah, who I'm not sure is a Premier League striker, to be perfectly honest, but he did admirably, and he's there offering something. There was a lot of pressure on him. There was a lot of pressure on them, and they just didn't quite get it right. If they'd have got that Champions League place, it would have been such perfect planning. Ultimately, though, if you go back to last summer and you just said they'd come there, that would have been a perfectly fine outcome for the season. It's just the position they got themselves into. To not quite get there then was a problem. But it did put them in a position for this season to be a really real something to build on.
YouTube, press the button, become a member of the Anfield Wrap from the heart of the city of Liverpool. The best way to enjoy all your Liverpool-based videos, everything you need, every single day. It is the Anfield Wrap. It's cut, Fuad, from me in less pasty times in the summer. Sat with a pair of shorts on. You can just about see my knees outside the Liver buildings and all that sort of stuff. That was the bit that was just on there. So
Great days.
Great days, halcyon times. It's so cold.
It is so cold. It's
so
sunny,
cold.
but it's cold.
It's so cold. It's come as a real shock. To be honest with you, it comes as a real shock to me. Are you excited about Saturday?
I am actually. Yeah, I am. I think I am ready for it now to come back. Like you said, the international break for us is as much of a break as it is for for some of the players who don't go off. It does feel nice to have that little bit of time off, and I think Saturday is one where there's enough to get excited about it in that it's a good opposition, very good opposition. They've obviously got the new manager and all of that to add into it, but also it will be a good game of football, I think. And I think when you end the international break, when you end before the international break on a good note, you always feel better, don't you, coming into it, and you feel like you just hope you can just use that momentum to bounce into Saturday.
So he's had no time to work with the players, De Zerbi, is the key thing to say, because they've been all off on international duty as well. A lot of them do get international call-ups. Potter was quite sort of, if I say Potter was unique, I think at times the Potter effect, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, I think what it actually does is it's taken a bit of glare away from the excellence of the footballers. You can be a really smart tactical manager, but your players have got to be able to put it into practice, and Brighton's have managed that, so they're all good players, is the truth of the matter, like you say. But you do feel as though, for me, what I'd love to see is a really good, strong, controlled Liverpool performance. I do feel it is a bit like season start here, boys. Yeah. This has been a bit of preamble. It's all been a bit mad. There's been some oddnesses in there. But I want to see the real deal from Saturday.
100%. The control is the huge thing, isn't it? And in every sense, almost, you don't want any early goals. If Liverpool are 2-3-0 up, I don't want Liverpool to be conceding under any circumstance. I want them to feel like they've got that reassurance back. They've got that ability in their heads, that counted experience of, right, we know how to shut games out when the time is right for that. We know when to play our football when we need to, and in midfield especially as well, they can feel comfortable.
On that, there's the two games last season against Brighton, which I think are there's for me, they're the two ends of the spectrum. The one at Anfield, where we're 2-0 up, we have a very tight offside decision go against us to make it 3-0, and their lad scores one out of the sun over Alisson's head to make it 2-1, and then we lose control of the game. Versus when we went to the Amex in February, and we, as soon as it went 1-0 Liverpool, we were winning that game. And for me, they're the two ends of the spectrum of what we want to see, and I so much want that end. I want the Amex end from last season.
I want the grinding machine end, exactly, where you go 1-0 up. I want that assurance again, like you said, just generally with the side that when we do go a goal up, I'm not worried about conceding huge chances. Obviously Liverpool have always conceded chances, but the manner of the chances recently feel mad and completely distant to what we're used to. So I would like the same. I'd like that feeling where you look from front to back of the team. The pressing's in sync, everything's in sync, because Brighton will give us the opportunity to do those things. It's also a good test for them in terms of our players feeling like they're back at the level, because they know they'll come up against a good side, and beating them will feel good. They will feel like they have that confidence back and that ability to go on a run now, which is needed.
It is very much needed. As part of that, obviously, Jota, I think, has scored in the break. Salah scored a couple of goals. Nunez has scored. For me, Jota's the big one.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there's a lot of onus on Thiago getting back in. There's 3 I'd love to see get a genuine run of fitness. And it's Thiago, obviously, Jones. I think it would help massively if we could get Curtis Jones back for a run of games in here as well. And Jota, for me, looking at Jota last season, the amount of goals he scores in the first half of games, the amount of goals he scores to open games up, he is so important, is how clinical he is in front of goal.
100%. The importance of the goals he scores, you know, they're not the third goal and a 3-0, they are the opening goals, the ones that break the deadlock. And I think it will be great to have him. I think also he looked way more in sync with the rest of the 3, and I feel like, you know, with the inconsistency in the team and you know, some of the rotations have been forced, especially in midfield, you know, it doesn't feel like that fluidity and that interchangeability, I guess, if you like, is there with the forward players as much. And I think with him, when he started, I think it was the Ajax game, wasn't it, that he started, it looked like that old Liverpool a little bit, where you did see them all have a relationship. I want to see a move basically where all 3 of those players are involved and get a touch of the ball. And I feel like I haven't really seen much of that yet. And I think Jota's the one that can sort of knit that together a bit more. And he seems to have a fresh intensity. It happens, doesn't it? When you've been out of the fold a little while and you're not maybe in the malaise that some players might have been mentally or as a collective, you can bring that fresh energy. And I think that would be really useful. And consistency, like you said. A bit of consistency in the lineup would be great now in terms of injuries and luck with injuries.
You'd like to feel as though, you know, obviously it's such a packed schedule when we hit October, you know, just in the week that follows, it's Brighton, Rangers, Arsenal, Rangers, Man City, West Ham. That takes us through to the you know, that's the next 6 games, and they come every 3 days.
Yeah.
I think Liverpool controlling that rather than it being forced upon them, the changes game to game, I think that's going to be season to find. And if we can do that, so I, for instance, think that Darwin doesn't start against Brighton, but I think he starts against Rangers. Possibly both games against Rangers, maybe doesn't start against Arsenal either. And then hopefully he's played himself into a situation where there's a decision to be made for the game against Manchester City. Liverpool being able to control that, I think, is what matters now.
100%, and that's why I have sympathy actually with the manager from the start of the season. He's almost had to just put whoever he's got fit, and the injuries and the areas of the injuries have really been a bit of a blow in terms of them having whatever plans they had in pre-season. And I think, you know, even things out of their control like Nunez's red card and things like that, you know, it doesn't help. And I think now, if they can get everyone, and like you said, do the changes that they want, and I think that's especially important in these league games, because these are really big league games now. I think for Liverpool to have any hope of really challenging up there at the top of the table, I think they need to go on a run now, and I feel like it needs to be almost a bit like that. We need that sort of moment like we did in 2019, you know, around the Villa game and when City dropped points and then beating City. I think that was so important that season, and I think that's going to be really important in this period again, because when that World Cup comes, it's going to throw things up a bit. The start is going to be a bit wild when everyone comes back as well, I think. So getting a good run now and having that foundation will be so important if we do have hopes for winning this league.
There we are. If we do have hopes of winning this league, or indeed building a foundation to achieve anything that we want to achieve over the course of the campaign, getting some consistency and being able to plan it all out will matter a great deal. Listen, all the build-up that you need to the Brighton game, we've mentioned top 6 as well. Been some excellent stuff during the international break from the Anfield Wrap. But it is time to be excited. It's time to be looking forward to the idea of a full weekend of Premier League games. Have you seen what the half 5 is on Saturday?
No.
It's Wolves versus West Ham, or it might be West Ham versus Wolves. There are people who support West Ham and Wolves who don't want to watch that on the telly. To be quite honest with you, it's a terrible advert for league football. But Liverpool versus Brighton won't be. It will be the game of the weekend. Liverpool will win it as well. Fuad Hasan, Atkinson, the Anfield Wrap on the march.